Hey guys, I'm Dave with Growing the Home Garden. The other day I had a question on one of my videos about pinching off the very tip of a cutting. And should you do that? Why do you do that? Those kind of questions. So that's what I'm going to cover today, and that's called the apical bud or the terminal bud, and it's the one that's at the very tip. So let's go ahead and we'll talk about what it is, what it does, and why you should remove it when you are doing cuttings. So I'm over here at my Shasta viburnum, and I like using this as an example because it's just very easy to see the different parts of the plant. And on this branch right here, you can see that it's got these side leaves coming off of it, no side shoots coming off this branch whatsoever, but I've got this one bud up here at the top. You can see right here it's continuing its growth. This is just a long straight stem with an apical bud at the end, also called the terminal bud. That terminal bud prevents all the other branching from happening down the stem. It pretty much pulls all the nutrients and everything that this plant is using for growing into creating a longer branch, a longer stem. When you remove this bud, it pretty much releases that signal, and these other little nodes that we have here that could either become branches or other leaves then know that they can start growing, that they can start doing things and create their own branching patterns. There are what you call, in these nodal areas, undifferentiated cells, and there's auxins and different things in them. Those undifferentiated cells basically are just cells that have not decided yet what they are going to turn into. And so those cells could actually turn into roots as well. All right, so let me give you a closer look right here. This is that same stem that I had a second ago. You can see the terminal bud right up here at the top, and you can see here these other nodes. Again, undifferentiated cells are inside those little nodes right there, and they could either become roots or branches, and just depending upon how they are treated. When we actually have them in the soil medium, they'll start to convert into roots. Now, if we take this off when we were doing our cutting, we just pinch off that terminal bud. It then sends that signal all the way down here that this is no longer dominant and that it can start doing other things at these nodes. And so when we do stick our cuttings and remove the leaves from down below and then put that into our medium, probably right down there at that node, that's going to start turning into roots. And that's exactly why we want to remove that when we do our cuttings. Now, also, this is very beneficial when you're trying to get a bushier plant. When you pinch that bud off there, it sends up that signal for those branches to happen up here. So that's why you want to take that off. Like if you're trying to do boxwoods and you want to get them a little bit bushier, you just keep pinching those tips and it will start branching patterns all along the stem and make a much bushier plant as you go. So terminal buds happen in all kinds of plants, and depending upon what it is, they may look slightly different. Like right here on this Powis Castle Artemisia, you can see here there's a bit of a cluster of things right here. In that spot, I would probably just pinch off the tip as best I could. I'd probably get a little extra, but that's not a problem, and then you just kind of remove all the rest of the branches around that stem. And by putting this down in the medium, then I'll start to get roots over here. And again, I've sent that signal by pinching that terminal bud off to come down through here and start creating roots. Anything that's above the soil surface will start to create branches. And so it really sets up the cutting for success when it knows it needs to start doing some work down here around the rest of the stem. Now this is a hydrangea plant that I took some cuttings from maybe a week or so ago. And you can see right here there is the tip where I took the cutting off, and that would have been a terminal bud where I took that. And over here where the branch is branching off with this little leaf is a new branch forming in that little spot right here. And you can tell if you follow down the stem, you can see lots of little branching now beginning to happen as you follow down the stem, because that terminal bud is no longer asserting its dominance over top of the rest of the stem, and it's allowing it to start branching out. So pinching off or trimming off the apical bud is not absolutely critical that you do, but I find it does help out a lot. It really sends those signals down to the rest of the plant that it's time to start growing, it's time to start putting those cells to work and shooting out roots and branches and things that it needs in order to survive. And when you do that, you kind of create that situation, you really encourage those roots to start growing better. Now, you're not going to do it in every situation. If you're just taking a stem tip cutting like that, that stem tip cutting, you probably don't want to cut off that tip. And sometimes when you're cutting off a whole branch, like maybe if I were taking this whole thing of the hydrangea plant here and cutting it into nodal cuttings, I would do it anyway because I'd be separating out the different sections of there. So I'm not really having to think about it a whole lot. It's just in scenarios where maybe I'm taking the part right up here at the very top and I'm wanting to pinch this off. Or maybe I'm getting a 3 or 4 node cutting like on that viburnum a minute ago and I'm wanting to send that signal down to that bottom node. So it's a very useful thing. I do recommend you doing it, but again, it's not absolutely critical. But if you do have a tough to root plant, I would definitely recommend it. And once you do have plants rooted, go on and start doing that to help make them into nice, bushy looking plants, because it just really helps with their growth pattern, especially if it's something like a boxwood that's typically done as a nice rounded shrub with lots of foliage. So again, I'm Dave with Growing the Home Garden. I really appreciate you spending some time here on the channel, and hit the like button and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time for more gardening stuff.